I'm very angry always inside me whenever I hear someone make claims for God. If there is a God, it seems to me so obvious and so absolutely clear that if he does exist, he is capricious and mean and willful. C.S. Lewis wrote a book called The Problem of Pain, and he tried to grapple with the obvious facts, branch of theology known as theodicy, and I think justifying the ways of God to man. But when a child has bone cancer, how can you say there is a loving God? I know it's a clichéic complaint about him, but I've never heard a satisfactory answer. It arose again with the tsunami. You might, at some twisted level, say when a volcano, well, perhaps not a volcano, but certainly a hurricane killed a load of children, that it was all man's fault because of global warming, though I think that's bullshit. You certainly can't have plate tectonics, which are the very structure of the earth, destroying children. What possible benefit is there? So, yes, there may be a creator. I don't think it at all likely. But it's possible, and it's a useful model for looking. We all like to say, thank you, God. I mean, it's a natural thing to do. But to say that he's loving, to say that he's benevolent, to say that he cares for us, or to say that having made us, something we never asked of him, creation, that we should spend our time on our knees in front of him, well, it's outrageous.
No,
why should we
it's been well put in. You've done brilliantly, but it can be condensed into a phrase. But we are created sick and commanded to be well.
Yes, essentially.
That couldn't happen. Yeah. That means it's very good that there is no evidence for the existence of God.
Yeah.
That's why I'm an anti-theist, because if the wishing that it was true would be wanting to be a slave and a plaything, and one can't want that as a free person. You have a feeling of awe. And awe is the only one of the lexicon you didn't mention, so I'm grabbing it for myself. Yes. Have a look through the Hubble telescope if you want to see something absolutely beautiful and wondrous. Or contemplate the unraveling of the human genome. Or read a page of Stephen Hawking. There's real beauty and mystery and wonder there. Hawking describes the event horizon. It's the lip of the black hole. It theoretically exists. If you could get to it and topple in and fall into a black hole, you'd be able to see the past and the future, except that you wouldn't have enough time, of course, but I mean, that's not part of the theory. One of Hawking's colleagues says that's the way he'd like to die if he knew he had only 6 months to live. He'd need a bit more. This is wonderful stuff.
Absolutely.
And people say, but what about, why wouldn't you rather turn your attention to a burning bush? Or to the fact that Lazarus makes no comment on being resurrected from the dead.
I
mean, it's not enough to keep the mind alive, is it? As Peter Cook used to say. It's not enough to keep the mind alive.
I will tell you why we're moving on now to blasphemy itself, which is the nature of this debate.
It is, until we cease to fear death, and until we, or rather, perhaps until we evolve a bit more, because nothing proves evolution more than the survival of religious belief. It shows we are still fearful, partially formed animals, with the terror of death and the dark. I mean,
but there's a theory by Robin Dunbar, whom I heard expound this theory at Hay last year in a book called The Human Story, which his theory, I'm no authority on it, but I was fascinated by it, which is that religion is, as it were, hardwired into the human consciousness, and that it's part of a programmed pattern which we cannot avoid.
Well,
yes, it is. There is a theory that it is in some way congruent to, or at least deeply parallel to, the development of consciousness in the human mind, which is, because after all, so far as we can tell, indeed any theory of mind would accept that tree frogs don't have a religious impulse.
Yet.
Or seem
well,
to
we
yet.
don't, actually, I don't know that.
No, we don't know. Of course we don't know.
They behave as if they do.
Yes. Inasmuch
they behave like moral idiots, born till dusk.
Well, because they are prelapsarian, because whatever the myth of Genesis means, it is essentially that of consciousness, of understanding. And they are either very lucky or very unlucky in that they spend 100% of their time being tree frogs and being supreme. They don't have to become tree frogs, they don't wake up the next morning saying, was I a good tree frog? Or they don't say, I'm going to tell mummy that actually I want to be a polar bear. And
Nor do they
sacrifice
baby tree frogs to idols that they've made.
No, precisely.
Nor do they want laws of blasphemy.
Nor do they want laws of blasphemy.
We have to come back to
yes,
community.
No, right.
No, it is in our consciousness. Of course, I mean, I don't know. This theory may very well turn out to be inadequate, but for now, I'd be willing to accept it. I believe religion is an ineradicable impulse, but for that reason, I believe it's a combatable one. It can be not defeated, but it can be negated, it can be ridiculed, which is the first impulse of not of the blasphemer, by the way, but simply of the critic or the rationalist. Marx did not say that religion was the opium of the people. What he said was, and it's in the introduction to his critique of Hegel's philosophy of right, that he said religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of the heartless world, the spirit of the spiritless situation, and that criticism, and then he said it is the opiate. The criticism of it has plucked the flowers from the chain, not in order that men shall wear the chain without any consolation, but so that they may break the chain and cull the living flower. And the history of our civilization has been that it starts when theocracy ends. There are no exceptions. Only when people separate the church from the state. So religion is a private belief.
There's a very interesting historical fallacy where
art or science or philosophy have a chance. Yes. There are no exceptions. There never will be either.
When people often like to say, religious people often like to say, when, for example, they are dissing, shall we say, what they perceive to be decadence, whether it's in the forms of homosexuality and license and so on, and indeed blasphemy. They say, look at the Roman Empire, that was all ended by all that license. It wasn't, it was ended by Christianity. Absolutely. It was Christianity that put an end to the Roman Empire, such as the empire we think of.
And closed the schools of
philosophy. Yes, I mean, it's a very interesting thing. You could call religion the ultimate decadence in a strange kind.
So you don't think that the Roman Empire was overthrown by faggotry and
No, amazingly.
Good for you.
But many...
You'd be amazed.
But many fundamentalists would say that it was.
They thought faggotry caused earthquakes.
They did. They would...
Actually, in San Francisco, if it does happen...
that would be... Damn, you're right.
You never know.
Right.
The second point I want to make, I hope I don't offend anyone, by the way. I'd rather hear from Stephen. They did buy a ticket with the risk of having both. But I'll try and condense, naturally. Would simply be this. I mean, I think that one must hear from people who dislike others. It's essential to me that Ian Paisley is a member of Parliament, and of the European Parliament, and that he says that Catholicism is work of the devil. It's absolutely essential, and it's essential to hear what Catholics really think about Protestants and Jews and others, and I know what that is, though they often try to mask it, especially in England. I know what they think about it. I know what they think about you. They say they hate your sin, but they love you as a sinner. They say your essence is hateful, in other words. What a stupid, casuistic thing to say. What a crappy euphemism. Don't put up with things like that. But I want to hear it from them. I want to hear people say that the Holocaust never happened, if that's what they think. I want to hear Jews say that Arabs have to clear out of Palestine to make room for them, if that's what they think. I'm very firmly non-Zionist. So they have to be able to say it. I'll defend this for anybody, but if I'm going to defend it for everybody else, I'm going to insist on it for myself too, and I'm going to insist that they respect me back. How bad is that?
No.
How bad is that? That's all we're asking. The government says, no, we take that right away. We apply it selectively. You never know what it will be you're going to say in advance that someone might not like or some cop might misinterpret. That is illegal. In America, it would be unconstitutional. We have to have the right to defend ourselves. And I will go on to say that those who are prepared to use violence or the threat of it to enforce this, what they're essentially saying to Blair is, do you want this law or do you want violence in the streets that would split the Labour vote? That's what they're saying. It's a plain incitement. A plain incitement. I'm not going to have that. I won't be talked to in that tone of voice. Would you? No. Well, shape up then.
No, I'm not.